This isn't some fairy tale. What I saw, what I experienced, it's real. The things we're taught to fear, they're nothing compared to what's waiting on the other side. But even that can be changed. You see, there's a moment, just before you leave, when everything becomes clear. Every choice, every action, it all matters. And trust me, there are forces unseen that will test you, pull you, challenge you in ways you can't even imagine. What if I told you that everything you've heard about heaven and hell, it's not what you think? That the truth might be so powerful, it could shatter everything you thought you knew? What if there's a way out of the darkness, a way to change everything right now? But that truth, it's not easy to face, and I'm about to reveal it to you. The question is, are you ready to hear it? Because once you do, nothing will ever be the same. Don't turn away. Keep watching.
Before we proceed into this incredible testimony, make sure you hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss a mind-blowing revelation like this. If you feel the power of this journey, don't forget to like and share with someone who needs to hear this. And hey, drop a comment below if you've ever had an experience that made you question life, death, or everything in between. Your thoughts could inspire someone else. Let's make this a conversation.
Hey there! I need you to listen carefully. My name's Mark, and I was just like you. I used to think the stories we were told about Christmas were harmless, maybe even a little fun. I was raised like most people, Christmas trees, gifts, carols, and of course, Santa Claus. I believed in the magic, just like you probably do. But let me ask you a question. What if everything you thought you knew about Christmas, about that red-suited jolly man, was all a lie? Worse than a lie. What if it's a trap? I know, it sounds crazy, right? That's what I thought at first, too. But I'm here today to tell you the truth. The truth I learned when I died. Yeah, you heard me. I died. And in that moment, I saw things that most people will never see in their entire lives. I was dragged into a world I never knew existed, right after my heart stopped beating. No warning, no preparation, just darkness, and then everything changed. Before I tell you what happened next, let me remind you that you're not just watching this out of curiosity. You're here because something is pulling you in. Maybe it's the way your heart skipped a beat when you first heard the words Santa Claus and dark truth in the same sentence. Maybe you're thinking, this sounds insane, but what if? Well, that what if is exactly why you need to listen. I didn't want to believe it either, but once you see it, you can't unsee it. And if you keep going down this path with me, you're going to realize something. Christmas, that magical holiday we all love, could be hiding something far darker than you could ever imagine. And no, it's not just some conspiracy theory. This is something much bigger than that. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. I need you to keep your mind open as I walk you through what happened. Trust me, by the end of this, you'll be asking yourself questions you never thought you'd ask. Now, let me take you back to the moment everything changed. The moment when I crossed over. And no, it wasn't some peaceful, quiet experience. No, I was about to learn a truth so terrifying that it made everything I thought I knew about life feel like a lie. The moment of death. The next thing I remember, I was falling. It felt like I was sinking into nothingness. No light, no sound, just endless, suffocating blackness. My chest tightened. I couldn't breathe, couldn't think. The pain was unimaginable. I couldn't move. And then, just when I thought I'd never see the light again, I heard it. The sound. It was faint at first, a distant jingle. Soft, sweet, almost playful. I thought I was imagining it, but the closer I got to the sound, the clearer it became. Bells. Jingle bells. Like a Christmas song, ringing louder and louder. But something was off. The sound wasn't happy. It wasn't the sound of joy, of Christmas cheer. It was like someone was playing with me. The vision, no. The truth was too much to process, but it wouldn't let me go. The longer I stayed in that place, the more it seemed like something was pulling me deeper. You ever had that feeling like you're in a dream, and no matter how hard you try to wake up, you just can't? That's what this felt like, and I couldn't escape it. Then, something happened that made my heart race even faster. The shadows around me seemed to shift, like they were alive. The sound of jingling bells echoed louder and louder. It wasn't coming from anywhere around me. No, it was inside my head. It felt like the whole world was closing in on me. And then I saw it. It wasn't just Santa anymore. It was something else. Something darker. Something more dangerous. I swear, you couldn't even see the figure clearly at first. It was as if it was made of smoke or shadows, or maybe both. But I could feel its presence, cold and suffocating. And then, through the blackness, I saw a figure moving toward me. It was tall, too tall, and then it stepped out of the shadows. The red suit, the white fur lining, that damn smile. But it wasn't Santa. No, this was the one that Santa had been hiding all along. Do you feel that chill creeping over your skin right now? That's what I felt. A deep, bone-chilling cold. And then it spoke. You thought you were just going to get some gifts, didn't you? His voice, that same jolly tone, now twisted into something I can't even explain. It was like hearing a voice from a place so dark. You can't imagine ever escaping it. You thought I was here to bring joy. Well, now you see the truth. And just like that, something inside me broke. I was wide awake in this nightmare. My heart pounded in my chest, but I couldn't move. He was right there, inches away. That smile, it wasn't for joy. It was a grin that made my blood run cold. There was no warmth in his eyes, only something much darker, something much worse. Have you ever been so scared that you couldn't even breathe? That's how I felt, staring into his eyes, and it felt like he was looking through me into my soul. "You want gifts," he whispered, "but what will you give me in return?" I felt this sinking, hollow feeling. My mind raced. It was like I was being pulled into something I couldn't escape. The more I thought about it, the clearer it became. This wasn't just some happy holiday figure. This was a figure of temptation, a creature that offered everything in exchange for your soul. Just like that, I remembered all those Christmas wishes, all the things people prayed for, everything they wanted, gifts, success, happiness, the perfect family. But I never once stopped to ask myself what it really cost. Do you think about that when you write your wish list? When you sit around the Christmas tree, waiting for your gifts, do you ever wonder if there's more behind the presents than just good behavior? He smiled again. Did you think I would just give you everything without a price? I felt my heart race, as if it was about to explode. My skin was on fire, but I was frozen, trapped in this nightmare. And then he did something I'll never forget. With a snap of his fingers, I saw it. The truth. The letters twisted again, and there it was. Satan. Now, I know what you're probably thinking. This is insane, right? This can't be true. But trust me, when you're in that place, when you see it for yourself, when you feel it with every inch of your being, there's no denying it. This wasn't just a man in a red suit. This was something much darker. This was a being offering desire in exchange for something much worse. It was the ultimate bargain. But hold on, because this is where it gets even worse. Are you feeling that knot in your stomach right now? That sense of unease creeping up your spine? Because you're about to meet the true mastermind behind it all. The figure in red isn't the end of this story. No, he's just the beginning. What I saw next was far more horrifying than anything I could have imagined. But I need you to stay with me, okay? Because once you hear this next part, it's going to shake everything you've ever believed about Christmas. And maybe, just maybe, you'll finally understand why this holiday isn't about gifts and joy. It's about something else entirely. Are you ready for the encounter with the red figure? The one you've been warned about your whole life? Stay tuned, because you won't believe what happens next. The encounter with the red figure. My body went cold. I couldn't even move. Every inch of me was paralyzed, my mind racing, screaming, trying to escape. But there was nowhere to run. He stepped closer. His tall, imposing figure towered over me, the deep red of his suit glowing in the strange, dim light that seemed to surround us. His smile, oh, that smile was wide, too wide, stretching from ear to ear. It wasn't warm, like you'd imagine Santa's to be. No, this was cold, calculated. It made my skin crawl. He looked down at me with those eyes. They weren't full of kindness. They didn't sparkle with joy like I had imagined as a kid. No, these eyes were darker, deeper, filled with something. Hunger. Something ancient. Something hungry for souls. You still don't understand, do you? His voice was low, smooth, almost mocking. All these years, you thought I was bringing joy, gifts, happiness. But you didn't see the price, did you? Have you ever had that moment where everything you believed in crumbles? You think you know something, believe in something, and then you find out it's all a lie? Well, that was what hit me right then. Hard. A truth I wasn't ready to face. But he was showing it to me. No hiding it now. You worship me, don't you? His voice echoed through my mind. You beg for presents, for joy, for comfort. But do you really understand the cost of what you want? Do you ever stop and think about it? About how many people are giving their hearts away, all in the name of this holiday? It seems harmless, doesn't it? Just a little Christmas cheer. But what if everything you thought was innocent was just a trap? What if it's all part of something darker than you could ever imagine? Every time you ask for presents, he continued, every time you get lost in the joy in the giving, you're making a deal. A deal with me. He laughed softly, and the sound made my blood run cold. You've been offering your soul, bit by bit, and you don't even know it. I felt my heart drop. He was right. I had prayed for happiness, for success, for everything I thought I needed. But in that moment, the reality hit me. It wasn't just a holiday. It wasn't just some jolly old man who loved kids and spread cheer. No, there was something much worse going on behind the scenes. His grin grew wider, more sinister, like he could see the terror in my eyes, like he wanted me to feel it. Don't you see? He said, leaning in close, so close I could feel the cold of his breath. I give you what you want, but in return I own you. Every wish, every gift, every bit of joy you seek, I take something from you. A piece of your soul, and the more you take, the less of you is left. I wanted to scream, to run, but my body refused to obey. I was trapped, and that feeling, that fear, it was growing stronger. It felt like I was falling deeper into something I couldn't escape. But the worst part wasn't even this. No, there was something much worse waiting for me. His eyes narrowed as he stared down at me, and for the first time, I saw something flicker in his eyes. It wasn't joy. It wasn't kindness. It was something darker. It was like he was waiting for something, waiting for me to understand. You've seen a glimpse of the truth, but it's not over yet, he said, his voice turning darker, more serious. There's still one thing you don't know. And that's when he whispered something so chilling, it made my heart stop. Now, I will show you the name you've all been calling me. Do you feel that? That knot in your stomach? I felt it too right then. Because as I stared at him, I knew this was the moment everything would change. This was the moment I would finally understand what I had been following all these years. He stepped back, his shadow stretching long across the floor. The air felt thicker, like I couldn't breathe. I could feel the weight of what was about to happen. And then, with a slow, deliberate movement, he reached up and pulled down his hood, revealing his face completely. What did I see? Well, you're gonna have to stay with me to find out. Because once you hear the name, everything you thought you knew about Christmas, everything you thought was innocent, will never be the same again. Are you ready for the truth? Because when I tell you what happened next, you won't be able to look at Christmas the same way again. The name. It's not just a name. It's the truth. And if you think you're safe because it's just a holiday, think again. Stay tuned. You won't believe what I'm about to reveal. The revelation of the name. The moment the figure whispered that name, everything stopped. My heart froze. Time seemed to stretch, like the air itself had thickened, and I was stuck in a moment I couldn't escape. That name, the one I thought I'd never hear again, the name I'd heard so many times before as a child. I wanted to scream, but no sound came. I wanted to run, but my legs wouldn't move. I was paralyzed by the weight of what I was hearing. He looked down at me, his eyes burning into mine with an intensity that was too much. His grin spread wider, almost as if he knew exactly what I was feeling. You've known this name your whole life, haven't you? He asked, his voice cold, smooth, and full of something dangerous. I could feel his words, like they were sinking into me. Santa Claus, that's who you've been serving. That's who you've been worshipping. You didn't think there was anything wrong with it, but it's always been dark. I felt my breath catch in my throat. Santa Claus? The jolly old man I'd always believed in. The one who brought gifts, joy, and Christmas cheer? The world I thought I knew started to fall apart. My mind was spinning. I had always believed that Santa was just a story. Something fun, something for the kids. But what was he saying? What did he mean by dark? There was a feeling of dread creeping into my chest, crawling its way into my bones. Was this really happening? Was I really hearing what I thought I was hearing? The figure leaned closer, his breath cold against my skin. Santa Claus is no jolly man, he hissed. He's a dark force that has been manipulating you all these years. He's the one pulling the strings, making you think that you're safe, making you think that everything is fine, while he takes what's most precious from you. I couldn't believe it. I wanted to wake up from this nightmare. This couldn't be real, but it was. I wanted to shout, to ask him to stop, to tell him he was wrong. But his presence was overwhelming, suffocating. I couldn't speak. I couldn't do anything except listen. You think Christmas is a time of giving, he continued, his voice lower now, like he was enjoying my confusion. What if I told you it's always been about taking? What if I told you that every Christmas gift you've ever received came at a price you didn't even know you were paying? The words hung in the air, each one sinking into my mind deeper than the last. I wanted to resist. I wanted to deny it, but there was something about the way he said it, something in his voice that made me doubt everything I'd ever known. Do you really believe you're here by accident? The figure took a step back, his form fading slightly into the shadows, but his eyes never left me. No, Ethan, you've been chosen for this moment. You've been led here. All those years of believing in the magic, it wasn't magic at all. It was manipulation. I wanted to ask him why was this happening? Why was I here? But the words caught in my throat. I couldn't speak. It was like he was reading my thoughts. Why? He echoed, as if he knew exactly what I was going to ask. Because Santa Claus doesn't bring gifts. He takes what matters most. And you've been feeding him all your life. Winner, stay tuned. You won't believe what's coming next. The Workshop of Darkness. Have you ever felt like you were being pulled into something dark? Something you couldn't escape? I did. And trust me, you don't want to know what I learned there. But listen, because maybe, just maybe, you need to hear this. I was floating there, somewhere between life and death. The silence around me was deafening. I couldn't see anything at first, just darkness. A darkness that felt wrong. It wasn't the kind of peaceful darkness you might find in sleep. It was alive, like it was breathing, like it was waiting for me to realize where I was. Then slowly, shapes started to form. Shadowy figures, tall and distorted, moving in ways that made no sense. It was like they were waiting for something or someone, and that someone was me. My heart pounded, my mind screamed for escape, but my body wouldn't move. I was trapped. And then, out of the shadows, a voice. Not a normal voice, but one that sounded like it was coming from deep inside the earth. Like it had traveled for centuries just to reach me. You've been called, it said. You came to learn. At first, I thought it was a mistake. I wasn't supposed to be here, right? But then the figures began to move closer. I could feel their eyes on me, even though I couldn't see their faces. It was like they knew everything about me. All my fears, all my weaknesses, all my failures. Learn, I whispered, my voice trembling. What am I supposed to learn? The voice didn't answer. Instead, the shadows began to shape into something else. I can't explain it fully, but they weren't just figures anymore. They were like works in progress, like they were being made right in front of me, crafted, shaped in a dark, twisted workshop that I couldn't escape from. And then it hit me. This was where the lost souls went. This was where the broken ones were fixed, turned into something else, something terrifying. I watched helpless as they moved closer, their shapes becoming clearer. Some of them looked almost human, but with eyes that were empty, soulless, black, like they were not alive. And then I realized this workshop was where the dark souls were formed, where the ones who had made mistakes, who had given in to hate, to fear, were shaped into something else, something darker. This was their fate, and it terrified me. I didn't want to be one of them. I tried to move again, but it was like my body was frozen in time. The figures reached out to touch me, their hands cold and lifeless. And the voice, oh, that voice, whispered again, you can stay, or you can go. I wanted to scream, to fight back, but all I could do was wait. Wait for the choice that I didn't even fully understand. Wait for my soul to be taken, or for the chance to leave, to escape this nightmare. Do you feel the dread? Do you sense the fear that's wrapping around your chest right now? Because I felt it then, and I know you can feel it now. The thought of staying in that workshop, it makes your blood run cold, right? The thought of becoming one of them, shaped and twisted, turned into something you didn't recognize. That's the kind of terror I can never forget. But here's the crazy part. I didn't stay. I chose to go. And that's the most important thing I can tell you. You have the power to choose. What would you choose if you were me? Would you stay in that workshop? Would you let yourself be shaped by the darkness? Or would you fight to leave, to keep your soul free? Think about it, because you don't know when you might face a choice like that. But here's the thing, now that you know about this workshop, do you think it's real? Do you think there's a place where souls are twisted and remade? Or do you think it's just some dark imagination of mine? I can tell you one thing for sure, it feels real. And maybe, just maybe, it's not a place far from here. It's closer than you think. Keep that in mind next time you feel like you're losing yourself in the darkness. Don't let the shadows shape you. So tell me, what's your choice? Stay tuned, winners. You won't believe what I'm about to reveal next. The terrified faces of children. I'll never forget what I saw next. I thought I had seen enough already. I mean, how could anything be worse than what I'd already experienced? But the moment I stepped into that place, the workshop, or whatever you want to call it, it felt like I had just opened the door to something that had been waiting for me all along. The smell hit me first. A cold, metallic scent that seemed to come from nowhere and everywhere at the same time. Then I heard it. The sound that stopped me dead in my tracks. It was soft at first, like a whisper, but then it grew. High-pitched screams. Not just any screams. These were the screams of children. The kind of cries you only hear in nightmares. I turned around, my heart pounding, thinking maybe I had made a mistake. Maybe this wasn't real. But the figure was still with me, watching me with that same smug grin. And then he pointed. "Look," he said, his voice cold. I didn't want to look, but I couldn't stop myself. I turned slowly, and that's when I saw them. Dozens of kids, all lined up, their faces twisted in fear. Their eyes were haunted, like they had seen something that should have been impossible to understand. They were looking right at me, and their faces, oh God, their faces. Some were crying, others were frozen, too scared to move, while a few were simply staring at me like they wanted to ask for help, but couldn't find their voice. It was like looking into the soul of every lost child who had ever been hurt, every forgotten hope, every dream crushed. Their faces were pale, their hands tied, their bodies trembling. I could feel their fear. I could feel it in my bones. And you know what? In that moment, something inside me broke. It wasn't just fear. It was pure terror. The kind of terror you can't run away from. The kind that makes your heart race faster than it ever has before. That makes your thoughts scatter and your knees weak. I wanted to run. I wanted to scream, but I couldn't move. I was frozen. The figure stepped closer. "Do you see them?" he asked. "Do you see what they've become? They were once like you, full of joy, believing in the magic of Christmas. But they're trapped here now. Trapped because they believed, they trusted, just like you." I tried to say something, to ask what this place was, why these children were here, but the words stuck in my throat. I couldn't speak. I was too horrified by what I was seeing. The children, they weren't just in pain, they were broken. And it wasn't just the fear. It was the hopelessness in their eyes, the belief that they could never escape, that they were stuck, caught in something they couldn't even begin to understand. Do you get what I'm saying? These weren't just kids anymore. They were shells. The magic they had once believed in had destroyed them. "You see," the figure said, his voice barely above a whisper, "this is the price of believing. This is what happens when you trust in things you don't understand." I couldn't breathe. I didn't know what to say, what to think. "Do you want to be like them, Ethan?" the figure asked, leaning in close, almost to the point of whispering in my ear. "Do you want to be one of them? Or are you ready to stop it before it's too late?" I looked back at the children. Their faces. They weren't just faces of terror. They were faces of regret. Of people who wished they could turn back time. Who wished they could undo everything. And I was standing in the same place they once were. But you? You're watching this right now. You can see it. You can hear it. Can you feel it? That same fear creeping in. The same dread that these children must have felt when they first stepped into this nightmare. Here's the thing. You might think it's just a story. That this is just another creepy tale meant to scare you. But let me ask you, what if it's not? What if there's something in this? Something you've been missing all along? Look at those children. Look at their faces. Do you want that? Do you want to end up trapped in that darkness? Because right now it's all up to you. Stay with me as I reveal the warning about heaven and hell. The warning about heaven and hell. I always thought I understood what heaven and hell were. I thought heaven was all about peace, light, and joy, and hell was just darkness and suffering. But when I was there, on the other side, I saw things so different, it changed everything I thought I knew. I'm not talking about some fairy tale version of the afterlife. This was real. So real that it sent chills down my spine. And if I'm being honest, even now, telling you this, I still feel the weight of it. At first, I thought I was in heaven. Everything was beautiful. It felt perfect, like a dream come true. The light was warm, but not too hot. The air smelled sweet, like a fresh breeze after a summer rain. And for a moment, I thought, this is it. This is where I've always wanted to be. But then something happened. I felt a pull, a shift. And before I knew it, I wasn't in the warm, peaceful place anymore. I was standing at a crossroads, and right there in front of me was a huge wall of darkness. There was no light, nothing to see. It felt cold in a way that shook you to your bones. I looked around, and that's when I saw it, the warning. The warning about both heaven and hell. It wasn't what I expected. It wasn't a place for souls to go. It was a choice, a test. Heaven wasn't some soft place to rest. No, heaven was a place where you were expected to be better. Every single action, every word you spoke mattered. You couldn't just slide by. You couldn't just be good enough. You had to be pure. You had to be ready to face everything you had done, good and bad. Every mistake, every moment you chose not to act was there, in front of you. All of it. And then hell. Hell wasn't just about punishment. It was about regret. The deep, horrible kind of regret. The kind where you realize you had so many chances to make things right, but you didn't. The kind where deep down, you could have done better, but you didn't. Hell wasn't full of flames or demons. It was full of people like me. People who had wasted their time on Earth, and now it was too late. Does that scare you? Because it should. It should make you think about every choice you make, every single day. You see, the warning I got wasn't just for me. It's for you too. We're all standing at that same crossroads, whether we know it or not. You might think you have time, but none of us know how much time we have left. It could be today, tomorrow, or many years from now, but the truth is you don't know. So let me ask you, what will you choose when your time comes? Will you face the truth? Will you look at your life and know that you gave it your best shot? That you didn't just coast by? Because the thing about the afterlife is you can't change anything once you cross over. There's no going back. No second chances. This isn't something to take lightly. Do you feel that urgency? Do you feel the weight of your choices hanging over you right now? It's real, and it's going to hit you harder than you think. The warning was clear. Heaven and hell aren't just places. They're choices we make every single day. It's about how we treat others, how we live, and how we face the truth about ourselves. You don't want to be caught off guard when the time comes. You don't want to find out too late that you've missed your chance to be the person you could have been. Are you ready to make the right choice? Because the clock is ticking and the time to act is now. Return to life. I remember it so clearly. I had just stepped out of that peaceful place, that bright, serene space I thought was heaven. And then I was yanked back. Not gently, not slowly yanked. Imagine for a second, you're drifting like you're floating on a cloud, weightless, free. No worries, no stress, just calm. Then, out of nowhere, whoosh, you're suddenly pulled back into your body, as if someone reached in and snatched your soul right out of the bliss you were experiencing. It was shocking. It hurt. It was a feeling I can't even begin to describe. My body, my real, earthly body, felt like it was a stranger to me. I didn't want to come back. I didn't. But then, something shifted. I heard a voice. I can't explain it. There were no words, not like you'd think. But there was a presence. A voice that wasn't a voice, but was everywhere. It didn't say, "Go back." It just asked, "Are you sure you want to stay?" And in that moment, I was faced with something I hadn't even considered. Why had I been sent back? That moment of uncertainty was like staring into an abyss. And I know what you might be thinking right now. Why am I telling you all this? What does it mean for you? It means everything. Because in that moment I felt it. The pull of life. The same life I had left behind. All those things I took for granted. The faces, the sounds, the smells of the world I had once known. Suddenly, they became so precious, so full of meaning. Do you know how we often overlook the small moments? We think we'll always have time, right? But trust me, you won't. The voice didn't tell me why I was sent back, but I knew. I knew there was something left undone, something I had to finish. And the worst part, I realized just how much I hadn't appreciated life when I had it. Think about it. Have you ever looked at your life and thought, what am I doing? The days pass by, and it feels like you're just going through the motions. But I'm telling you, those small moments, the ones you think don't matter, they matter. The instant I came back to my body, I felt the weight of everything. My regrets, my missed chances, my lost time. I felt every moment I could have used better, and I wanted to change it. I wanted to do it all over again. But here's the kicker, it was too late for that. That's what I'm trying to tell you. It's not too late for you. You still have time. Don't wait until you've crossed over to realize how much you could have done. You might think you have forever, but the truth is, none of us do. And when I came back, that lesson hit me like a ton of bricks. Do you get what I'm saying? Can you feel that urgency? Because that's what I felt when I came back. I wanted to make every second count, and yet it was overwhelming. How could I possibly make up for all the time I had wasted? The tension inside me was so real, so heavy. And there I was, lying in my own bed, my heart racing, realizing that the life I had was slipping through my fingers. But here's where it gets even more interesting. Just when I thought there was no way to get it all back, I felt something shift again. A new kind of light. Not the bright, overwhelming glow of heaven, but a kind of soft, steady glow. A sense of peace. Like maybe I could still find my way. Maybe you can too. But here's the catch. The choice isn't easy. Life doesn't just hand you a second chance. You have to earn it. You have to decide. And that decision comes with its own kind of weight. Are you ready to act on that decision? Are you going to keep putting off what really matters? Because if you're waiting for a sign, maybe this is it. So, here we are. I've shared everything with you. The light, the peace, the unexpected return. But now, I need to ask you a question. What are you going to do with what you've just heard? I know it might feel like I'm telling you a wild story, but trust me, this isn't just a story. It's a warning. It's a reminder. And it's up to you to listen. Think about it. Life is so short. In a blink of an eye, it could be gone. You don't get to choose when that happens, but you do get to choose how you live in the time you have. What are you going to do today? Are you going to keep putting things off? Keep waiting for the right time? Or will you make the choice now to start living fully, to start appreciating the small things? Look, I don't know how much time I have left. I don't know how much time you have left. But I do know this, you can still make a difference. You can still choose to make every moment count. And this isn't some motivational speech. This is a reality. The kind of reality I never expected to face until I was staring death in the face. but I'm still here. And so are you. That's something huge. So, what's stopping you from living like this is your last day? What's stopping you from making every second meaningful? I'm not telling you to go out and be perfect. I'm not saying everything will be easy. But I am telling you that if you want your life to matter, if you want to feel that peace again, that deep, real peace, you have to start living now. Don't wait for a sign. Don't wait for the perfect moment. Start today. Are you ready? The choice is yours. Right now. You can go back to your normal life, or you can choose to make it extraordinary. You can keep waiting for a better day, or you can make today the day that changes everything. So, here's the question again. What are you going to do with the time you have left? Because when it's over, it's over. And I don't want you to have any regrets. Remember, life doesn't give second chances. This is it. Make it count.
Wow, that was something, wasn't it? If this testimony has left you thinking, like, subscribe, and share this video with anyone who might need to hear this truth. We want to hear from you. Comment below. Maybe say a prayer or share your own experience, and let's keep this conversation going. What part of this journey hit you the hardest? And remember, life is more than just what we see. Stay curious, stay open. See you in the next video.